Welcome to Jewel Attack, the number one podcast where two of three people are south of the Brisbane River. Uh,
Great intro. I loved it.
yeah, no, we've got to lock that in now. No, best podcast east of Ipswich. Do we think that's fair?
Yeah. Robin lives east of Ipswich, doesn't he?
Yeah, he does.
Yeah, then that's accurate.
Excellent. Is it a podcast if we
Fantastic.
just
All
are
right.
doing an audio YouTube episode?
Look, I mean, I think there are probably more qualified people to philosophize about what makes a podcast a podcast.
I don't know. We're three white
than
men. I
us.
think we're pretty well positioned to talk about a podcast.
No, I think that's right. But unfortunately, two of us don't have arms on our mic. Doesn't make us a podcast, but I think you should get in the comments and let us know whether that does make us a podcast or not. But in the meantime, Tim, tell us about yourself. What's your experience with War Machine?
Yeah, guys, I'm loving this intro. Hello, my name is Tim. What was the question?
What's your experience with War Machine? Have you played other war games in your time?
Yeah, I'm a huge nerd. Like the quick summary is that I was 10. My dad bought me some Lord of the Rings miniatures. I painted them real badly. Super proud of it. Showed my dad. He said, "Good work, son," and I was hooked. And then, War Machine, when it hit the scene about 20 years ago. It's a long time. Man, I think I'm old. I thought the minis looked cool, so I got them and I painted them, collected them, and then played them a little bit. I think I didn't really take it too seriously until maybe a few years ago, just before Mark IV sort of started playing and really enjoying it. I think it's a steep learning curve, so kept me away from the scene for a little bit. But no, I'm really all in on Mark IV, and it's been great. It's been really good, and I'd love to know what your experience with War Machine is, Lewis.
Well, Tim, before we get into that, what did bring you into Mark IV?
What brought me into Mark IV? I think I was in Mark III. And to be frank, there was a guy who reached out to me after a brawler. I remember this weird fella came with his mate to my house, and I had a spare one. I gave him that, and I thought, I've got all the crack at playing it again. Went back into Mark IV, and turns out it's even more fun than Mark III. So, yeah.
That's great to hear. And subtext for the audience is I cyberbullied Tim for nearly a full year to come and play games with us, and we're here now. So that's good.
In fairness,
myself,
I just had a newborn, so I'm sure people can relate to that. With all the free time you get after you have a newborn.
Well, they don't do much, so surely you got heaps of free time.
Yeah, you're up all night. Like, what are you meant to be doing? Like, taking them on runs? Like, you have all this spare time where you're not sleeping. Get in the comments. How much painting did you get done with a newborn? Well, mine and Connor's beginnings in the hobby are a bit intertwined. If you want to start spinning the tale, Connor.
I unlike Tim, who went back to being 10, I wasn't going to go too deep on this, except to say, I guess, that I've played a fair few different games. I think I'd like to get into it in a later podcast, just because I think I've started a lot of games, and I think I've maybe got something to say about being a new player, but I guess I've played War Machine, Warhammer, Malifaux, Infinity, Netrunner, which is a great game, I don't know, X-Wing, and a few other various bits and bobs, but I'm currently on War Machine.
I guess more what I was getting at, Connor, is where did you start playing War Machine?
Oh, Cairns, Australia. I started like a hobby club out of a random hall when I was 16, and a very young, fresh-faced Lewis arrived at some point.
Yeah, that 10 to 12, I was there also. And we're here now because we happened to move onto the same street during COVID.
Yeah, and essentially we became big shots, right? Isn't this what it's all about?
Well, I think that's it. I think that's what justifies us having a podcast. You know, the WTC winners had to go overseas just to pick up a fight. All right. Oh, is Tim still with us?
Yeah. Yep. I was enthralled by your conversation. Sorry, I didn't freeze.
That's good. Anyway. All right, so we'll get into the Q&A, which is the meat of the episode, and I will come in hot with a bit of context on who y'all are as people. So which Pokemon would you be stuck on a desert island with, and why?
Was that directed at me?
That's directed to the room. Sounds like you want to pick it up,
I think you're
and
the
please don't
Pokemon
be weird
expert
about
there,
it.
Tim.
Oh man, I feel like if I said like Jinx or Gardevoir or Mr. Mime, there'll be inferences made. I don't know. I think I'm gonna say Lickitung.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he looks tasty. I feel like he's plump. He would last long if I cooked him
don't
up.
want to hear more about that. I don't want to hear more about that, Tim.
Why did you ask the question? Is this a community question?
It is, yeah. And I said, don't be weird about it.
I don't have that. I can't do that.
All right, we've got Plump Lickitung. What do you reckon, Connor?
I think Grimer,
Why's that?
because he's a trash monster.
Trash monster on the desert island?
Yeah. I stand by this.
Fantastic. Love your work.
God, this is high quality content.
This is good content. I'll lead into a more serious business-based question, which is, as you know, the two leading members of Dual Attack, the brand, the company, how much do you pay yourself out of the company? And you know, how many subsidiaries do you see in your futures? Connor.
Yeah, I'm happy to field this because I've turned on AdSense.
Fantastic.
Connor doesn't know I've been embezzling money from the Dual Attack channel. It's actually a front for my drug business, pharmaceuticals, all above board, of course. But if the tax office asks, we earn approximately 50 cents a week. If anyone else asks, it's less than that.
For my own benefit, have we actually turned AdSense on for Dual Attack?
No.
Don't worry. I've been embezzling the money we're making, so it's all good.
Yeah. So
to be clear, can you give some context about the fact that potentially we could put AdSense on, Connor? But you know, what would we be looking at? $2, $2.75?
I think that's a lot. I'm pretty sure. I don't even know if we can turn ads on. I think don't you have to have like 1,000 subscribers or something? Basically, we don't earn any money, and we do all of this out of the goodness of our heart. I think the rough logic on starting this, and part of why we just have like a lot of just randomly shit videos, is I thought that there was a bit of a lack. Like there's a lot of good stuff out there, like Tried and True and things like that. But if you're just like, oh, I want to see some games for XYZ caster, it's kind of hard. There's not a lot out there, so I just thought if we just started doing a bit of volume, it'd be kind of cool. But yeah, we don't have any money, and we don't have fucking ads on.
Oh yeah, look, I was just.
However, if someone does want to
you
sponsor Dual Attack.
Yeah, we're open to it. Then I can embezzle more. But in all seriousness, to turn ads on to a YouTube channel, you need 500 subscribers and 3,000 hours watched a month. If anybody's actually interested in that, so if you know your mate, just tell your mum and dad to subscribe to the Weird Miniatures channel. That will really help us, and then we can actually embezzle some money out, put it back in, maybe. I don't know.
And isn't that good to know? So on that note, you know, you could start a YouTube channel about anything these days. Why War Machine? Why do you play it in the first place, and why do you put the time into creating content for that game in particular?
Why? why, like, why play War Machine in general?
Well, why War Machine channel, and why commit yourself to the furthering of this game in particular?
Oh, I guess we were just playing it. It was, I mean, once again, if you go back to the earlier videos, we just put a phone up and started recording it. It's not like we have done a lot. So we were playing it anyway. I like War Machine. Obviously, you both play War Machine. And I guess why we've continued it is there does actually seem to be a genuine desire for people to want to watch our trash. And so we're slowly iterating and making a better product.
Tim?
Yeah, well said. I think that's really good. I joke around a lot, but it's been really enjoyable. Like getting slowly, I don't know, more polished. Maybe by next year we'll be, a tenth of tried and true level. So who knows? Who knows? But no, it's been really fun. It's been really fun to upgrade audio, upload videos with audio at all. That's been good. Upload videos with endings. That's been fun too. I don't know. It's enjoyable to play War Machine. I think Connor's right. There was a bit of a lack of consistent games that were current and relevant, so we started games that were relevant, and people started watching them and engaging with them. So we've continued. Yeah, we haven't mentioned it, but our goal is to put out a video every single week. And this week we're putting out a little bit of a behind the scenes meet us video, not because we haven't edited a video or anything, but because we thought you might be interested.
Because we care.
Oh, this is to replace this week's upload. Is that right?
Only because we care about people and we want to give insight
Gotcha.
into the product that we make, and not because we haven't gotten around to editing a video yet.
No, that's not the
just
reason.
Just to date this podcast really specifically, both the last episodes of Sixes to Win and The Business have covered on social contracts with our opponents. And obviously we put people in quite a vulnerable situation, having every part of their game recorded and put onto the world for people to consume. So how important is a social contract to you while playing the game of Toy Soldiers?
Holy Jesus, that segue was incredible. It's really good. It's really good. I think I'll be vulnerable here and say that, I mean, I'm not bothered if you film me playing a war game, but I often get rules very, very wrong. And I think that can be intimidating for sure when you're playing on something that's going on the internet. You say something you're not supposed to, things you're not supposed to talk about, or, places where you might live. So it can be intimidating to be filmed and then everybody sort of wants to point out everywhere you got the rule wrong or you cheated or something like that. But it's actually been really fun, and I don't think a whole ton of people are like, I don't know, watching your every move, ready to be pointing out what you're doing wrong. I think Connor mentioned it to me one time too, that it gives you the opportunity to go back and look at how you play, because it's probably not something you do a lot. You don't reflect on games unless, they're recorded, and you can change things that you'd like to change about that social contract, I guess, to your question, Lewis. I noticed, not to call him out, but James off the famed podcast Sixes to Win, he's playing this opponent. His name's Jamie Perkins, I think. I don't know. Anyway, this Jamie goes to shake James's hand, and he totally misses that. He puts his hand up and ignores the shake, which I think is a really important part of War Machine, to say, good luck, have fun, shake hands. It's really funny to watch. And then on reflection, we noticed that, and I told James, and it was hysterical, but he felt really bad, like gut-wrenchingly bad. Oh my God, I can't believe I didn't shake his hand or whatever. And apparently that guy's like really good on his kitchen table. So yeah, I think it's important.
Sick burn there, Tim. You said a bunch of stuff. I'm really struggling to remember what the segue is. How important?
No, that's right. The main thrust is just like, how important is the social contract to you while you're playing a silly game of Toy Soldiers?
Yeah, I think it's important to understand what you're both there for. I'll use this a very minor segue to say I actually don't like silly games very often. Like people talk about Food Machine and things like that, where you can like pay money to cheat or whatever it is, and like it's all for a good cause and etc. But I don't like it because to me that breaches like a bit of a contract about what we're there for the game is for, and like what the point is, which is like presumably you're both trying to play together to be good at the rules or whatever it is. But yeah, that like what a game looks like depends on who you're playing as well, and part of that's like being nice to your opponent and maybe like taking a bit of a dive if they're new or things like that. On the playing on camera point, yeah, this is the bit you mentioned before I want to jump on. I think a lot of people don't realize just how much they fucking cheat. And I like the camera for that. I think that people get rules wrong a lot. I think
Mm.
people fuck stuff up. And I think the camera's not there to like get people in trouble, but it's good to be able to reflect back on that. I totally got called out on like the mercenary trash chord bit with someone being like, because I was like, oh, I played Shay and I did okay, and they were like, yeah, but you totally cheated. Shay doesn't have tough, and I thought that was very funny. Um, so I think it's a good opportunity also to learn. Like it's a pretty rules dense game, and you need people to kind of double check your rules sometimes.
Yeah, no, that makes absolute sense. And so I guess +1 on all of that. Like the game we play is just a social game. Everything we do is a negotiation. Like we had Josh talking in their most recent podcast, Gigantor, about Travis, who will at the start of the game kind of talk through how everything's going to work for them. They're going to roll their dice in their tray, yada yada, through how any perceivable barriers will be addressed. And I remember really early on when Tim joined the meta that he was like, all right, let's set up the scenario, and then we're just going to put this pirate ship in the middle of the table. And I was just looking at it like, oh, that's really going to advantage the second player, and that's actually really going to affect the way that this game goes. And then Tim went, I'm going to run everything into the ship because that's what pirates do. And then we had these really great interactions. It was like, all right, the pirate mast is too big to allow a model to be placed on the other side, but let's do it anyway. And I had to really internally go through this process of being like, no, this is a really like this could not be more like less of but more of a casual game.
Mm.
And I'm willing to lean in this negotiation. I'm folding. This is the most fun I've had in a tabletop game in months, if not years. Let's just lean in. Let's fight over this pirate ship and just have the time of our lives. And I thank Tim for that, but it was also just a bit of it was a reminder that we're here to have a dialogue. It's not all just about what one person wants out of the game, but it's obviously in a tournament that conversation takes a different form, but in our casual games, like politeness and having those conversations is equally important.
Yeah, and just to piggyback off that, it's part of it. Like, I don't enjoy playing on War Table very much, and I think to that point, it's not like I do have some problems with War Table, but I don't play the game for its like mechanical depth. I play the game so I can be like across the table from another human being and engage with them about it. So yeah, no, I back that.
Yeah, I mean that's the beauty of War Table. Like I've played in a couple of international leagues now, and I've played with folks from Germany and Poland and UK and just all over Europe. I still don't think I've actually played against someone from America, interestingly enough. But like that goes for War Table. I think that's an incredible pro because it means that we're incredibly physically alienated from folks until it comes to D, basically.
Yeah, I agree with all that. That was really an illustrative example, Lewis. I totally forgot about that game. I guess when I came back into the Mark IV, definitely came back in, to socialize and to have fun playing. I'm certainly, you both have played me a lot. I'm certainly not as interested in winning War Machine as in really enjoying the experience with the opponent. I would like to continue to get better and improve, but your question was all around the social contract, and you're both so right. It's so important to read the room, understand your opponent, and go with it, I guess.
Would you say, Tim, that to Lewis, that game on the pirate ship was one of the most important games of his life, but to you, it was just Thursday?
Yeah, that's exactly what I would say. I had forgotten about it, but on reflection, very memorable game for Lewis. I'm memeing again. I feel like we were getting into
Moving
on. Flow state then.
So going on from there, what would you say is like a specific virtue or specific thing that makes someone a good War Machine opponent?
I think that's a good question to follow up the one that we just had, because it depends on the content. Yeah, great segue again. I think it depends on the type of game you're playing, the context of the game, and the skill of your opponent. Because, I think there's a lot about, for example, right, and the recent podcast from The Business, very good podcast. Gigantor talks about he's not a very good person to play against a new player, because he can't just switch off and sort of let them win, which Connor, you talked about just before. It's important to be able to Lewis's point, sort of like understand where your opponent's at and read that, and know how that you can accommodate a good match, a good experience with that person. Sort of rambling a little bit here, but please jump in. Connor, save me. I'm treading water.
Yeah. I'll throw you a life thing. I think maybe why you were struggling a bit is it can be hard to say what makes a good opponent. I think I might pivot the question slightly and say, I can tell you what makes a bad opponent, and that's someone who makes me feel like either they're not enjoying the game or that I'm not contributing to the game. So I don't like it when someone starts complaining about dice or things like that, because it makes it feel like I didn't, if I'm winning, I haven't earned the victory or whatever it is. And I want someone to act like they're enjoying the game, whether they're winning or losing. And as long as they're doing that, I think they're generally an enjoyable opponent, someone who's able to have a bit of a chinwag as you're playing. But even then, you can have a serious game with minimal banter where, you're both playing on clock and you're playing to play a very technical game, and it can still be a good game. I think it kind of comes back to the social contract and the discussion earlier about, as long as you both know what you're there for and you both deliver on that promise, I think it's just a good game. You got one, Lewis?
Yeah, I mean, I think that, just to really quadruple down on our cross-pollination, that kind of speaks to episode 21 of Sixers to Win, and talking about not stealing victory, not ruining the victories of your opponent and things like that. But if I may pivot there, I guess, could I re-ask the question as, how would you like your opponents to perceive you as? Because recently in Online League, I played, frankly, a really sloppy game. I got up at 4 a.m. that morning. I'm not a morning person. I was tired. I had a lot of minor take-backsies. My opponent was lovely about it. I had terrible audio quality for the first half of the game. And then after the game, they said, "We'd love to play you at a WTC." Had a great time. And that just filled my heart full of warmth. We would have loved to play them again. But at the end of the day, I think it came back to, I guess, we were both there to do the same thing. We were both very friendly. We were both doing our best to make it the best game we could. I felt like I'd let the side down, but ultimately I was pretty self-aware about the whole thing and we made it work. Does anyone have anything to add, I guess, to that idea of how you would like to be perceived by your opponent, win or lose?
Yeah, for sure. I think you put that so eloquently. I think you're right. I think for me, I would love that if they're an enjoyable opponent to play against, I would love to think that they would want to play another game with me. Should that come up, like that's a pretty good one to want to strive towards. Like even in I reflect on, we just played in a big tournament called the OTC. And that's a big team tournament. And we certainly played against individual opponents in the teams that would, frankly, like won't even engage you. They were just there to beat your force, and you were sort of the cog that was moving the pieces, and they wanted to beat you. And then you play somebody lovely like Hado. I played a game against him, lovely gentleman who's running CanCon. Shout out CanCon in January. If you haven't signed up, buy your tickets. I heard they're selling out fast. He just was having the time of his life. Like everything that you just said, Connor, he was engaging. We were both like really enjoying playing. It was a tournament setting. We were playing a really clean game, to be frank, but it was so enjoyable as well. We had each other's respect. I would love to play that guy again. And I hope that he felt the same about me as an opponent. And that's the type of game I'd like to play. It's not always the case. Sometimes, to your example, Lewis, you're tired, you're cranky, or you've stuffed something up bad or whatever. But, you're always, I think most people are working towards being that style of opponent.
Yeah. I don't think I've got much more to say. I mean, I don't think it's quite as simple. Like, I think the simple answer is I want the other person to like me, right? But I think we all want people to like us. I think that's a pretty natural human instinct. But I guess more than that is I want to play a game where I feel like, I want to play a game where they feel like I treated them, I guess, how I would want to be treated, and it's like equal and everything else like that. Because you sometimes end up with curly stuff, like maybe someone asks for a take backseat, or someone forgets to deploy a model, or whatever it is. And sometimes you do, like, you can't always be the nice guy, but as long as you can have a game where at the end of it everyone felt like they were respected and everyone had a good opportunity, and everything else like that, I think that's probably a bit of a win.
Sorry, that was my stepdad.
You're right.
Oh, nice. One of the dads. Here you've got lots
One
of
of the
dads.
three dads.
Yeah.
3 dads are currently painting my apartment, which I'm very thankful for. Yeah,
That's
keep
cool,
this in
man.
at your discretion. We bought our place and we moved in we took ownership on Friday, and spent a good couple of days helping out with the sanding, yada yada. Painting started today. What a time to be alive. How much content do we reckon that is?
Oh, we can pull up now, or is that take
No,
over you?
there's a couple of questions I want to end on.
Oh, okay.
but-
Well, start the ending questions then.
Okay, cool. Because I fear that some of this has actually been quite good, and maybe we should do like the what armies we play and kind of pivot into some of that conversation, and heaven forbid another episode.
I do want to do another one of these. So
I fear that some of this has actually been quite good.
yeah.
Yeah, I feel like if we get in a flow state, right at the start it was super awkward. We were very disjointed, but I feel like we're editing this out. Maybe we're going to leave it in. Who knows?
Look, I have zero plans to edit this out. Unless
Fantastic.
someone
This is
really wants
staying
to
in. Thanks
edit it
if
out.
you're still listening, thanks for bearing with us.
Yeah.
If you
also,
want another episode, get in the comments.
So for seriousness, most of these questions are questions that we either came up or like our local Discord. I just said, has anyone got any questions? Shout out to either Josh or Jay for the Pokemon question. But I would love to do another one of these, probably a bit closer to Christmas. And I would
think
love
another
people
one
to
in
comment
December
some
about our
questions.
CanCon plans more generally would be cool.
Oh, should we just
Mm.
record that we
Because-
won CanCon?
yeah,
No,
we'll
I
do
think
that.
we should do a prep
That's a
for
separate video.
CanCon and then a CanCon episode, because we've got the multiple events at CanCon that we can kind of structure around as well.
Yeah, but I mean,
Yeah.
we can just win CanCon and pre-record that one as well.
Well, we will win CanCon.
Yeah. Well, we already have one CanCon. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, we've won.
Yeah,
CanCon.
spoilers. We haven't recorded that video yet.
All right. Before we get
It is a
too
three-person
off topic
team
on
tournament, right?
nonsense.
Hey, we're all talking over each other. This isn't Dark Guidance. It's a great. That's a great shout out. Actually, Dark Guidance is another great podcast in Australia. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Chris Davies.
Does
I love
anyone
you.
have a shout out from the most recent episode to prove that we've actually listened to Dark Guidance in the same
Yeah.
specificity we've done the other podcasts?
100%. I listen to Dark Guidance when I have a long bowel movement that I need to listen to. It featured Josh, and he talked about Crix in between Chris and Arian talking over him. But everything that Chris and Arian says, love. It's gold. What comes out of their mouth. You should jump on Dark Guidance. It's a great podcast.
I haven't listened to Dark Gardens, but I will. I've listened to all their
You
other
could have
ones.
been caught.
No,
I
I've listened to
actually
their
did
other
listen
ones.
to
I
the
just
whole
haven't because
episode.
it goes for an hour and a bit. I'll listen to it when I go for a run or something.
I had like a big curry. Anyway, go on.
Sweet.
Um,
Yeah. Do you want to start to close us out then, Lewis? Did you have a question you
Yeah,
want to end
I'm
with?
ready to wind down. Part A of our wind down question. What army would you have taken to the World Team Championships with the full power of retrospect to take out the crown or at least podium? What would that have looked like for you? Tim, do you want to kick off?
Yep. So if I was on a WTC team, it wouldn't matter what army I took, that team would lose. But if I was a good player and had to choose a faction, it would have had to have been one of three factions that you had to have in your team, which was Orgoth, Dusk, or Kador. I think all three of those factions for this year's WTC were very, very strong.
I would have taken an army with a 100% win rate, which would have been Convergence of Cyrus.
You can't argue with the statistics, and as Convergence of Cyrus would say, glorious evolution for those up to date on Arcane. Shout out spoilers. I myself would have also would have been the second Orgoth player, all things considered, especially looking at the current meta of online play. I just finished an online league where the second and third place teams had two Orgoth players and an average of 4 Orgoth balloons per Orgoth player. So that really says something about the current meta. And I think the Australian team could have gone for at least 4 more Orgoth balloons in their team.
Orgoth
Yeah.
can get fucked.
Yeah, I
But
hate that.
far more importantly, so we've put in 2 Orgoth teams, 8 Orgoth balloons. We've got Convergence of Cyrus in our team with a 100% win rate, and we've got Dusk and Cardor. We've won. What animal, and I'm going to say specifically Australian animal, would you make your WTC winning model after? And what would it look like?
I've already said what I think the current WTC winning model should be. Just to be super clear, I've got no inside scoop on this, so fucks me if this is what's being made. I think they should make a hoop snake for Chimera. The person riding a snake should be a hoop snake.
That's
Yeah.
pretty cool.
I think that they should make that, and they should also model on a swooping magpie above him. That would be great.
I'm trying to shoe this design in, and I'm just not quite sure where it fits. Oh no! The poisonous attack, but it's just a platter, like big spur, and a guy with an Akubra on top. That's my WTC model. Can you see the vision?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. All right. I think we've covered a lot of ground here today, folks.
There's only one question left that I said would be addressed, and that's how I grow this magnificent mustache. Trick is just think really, really hard for at least 30 minutes a day solely on your mustache. You just really concentrate on growing it. That's how you grow a big, magnificent mustache. That's my
Hey, Tim,
secret.
this is dangerous content to put out in the world, and I say this just because I was someone who listened to a podcast similar that no, it had harder extremities than this one, but it was called Podhammer way back in the day, and I was probably the only 10-year-old listener of it. But if someone on that podcast had said you just have to think really hard about growing a mustache, I would have started doing it at 10 years old for sure. But I also want to confirm, and I don't think we're sharing the video of this with anyone, but all of us have moustaches because not only moustaches, we've also thought about the success of our friends.
Yeah, there's definitely a component of your friends thinking about that will also help it flourish and grow. So yeah, look, for all the 10-year-old listeners out there, 100% work. 30 minutes a day, got to put in the reps to grow your mustache.
All right, as
That's
good as
right,
this
and especially
banter,
during November, check in with your mates. Make sure they're
as good as this banter is, I think the signal's just getting worse and worse. That audio quality is just getting shitter and shitter. So we may as well wrap up.
Thought good. Again, if you're still here, like and
All right, I'm gonna just end it. Thanks everyone for watching. Like and subscribe, and ask comments. Ask questions if you want another one of them. My goodness, how do you phrase a question again? If you would like another questions and answers thing, please ask questions in the comment